record though first. There we go. Now we're recording. Okay, welcome everybody to the Power Connection Chat. My name is Bobby Amar. I'm a 5-time TEDx speaker, one of Inc. Magazine's top 100 leadership speakers. I'm a virtual trainer on personal branding and all the skills you need to build a strong thought leadership brand, including storytelling, content creation, and relationship building. And with me, of course, as always, are Andy and John, who are my co-hosts. And we have a fantastic guest today, Leah Turner. Welcome. Thanks so much for being here. Very happy to have you with us. Yeah. And so if you are just joining this live stream, please, first of all, start commenting. Tell us where you're from. Are you watching from North America, South America, Australia, Asia, Europe, Africa? Let us know where you're from. That would be great. And then, of course, you can engage each other. You can connect with each other, share your links, and maybe you can even share each other's contact information. And next thing you know, you can have a question. You can ask a question of Andy or John or Leah. And myself, we all have different expertise and things we want to talk about. So that's really what it's all about. So we're going to dive in. We have a very, very big agenda. Today, we're going to talk about how to find confidence with your content. And we're going to also talk a bit about how we leverage personal branding. But the first thing we'll do is introduction. So I'd like to invite my colleagues here to introduce themselves, and then we'll get into the next section, which is going to talk about current trends. So let's start with Leah. Please introduce yourself to everybody.
Never know what to say with these things. I'm Leah Turner, in case you don't know.
That's correct.
And I'm apparently one of the top 50 most impactful people on LinkedIn as of today. Thank you to Ahmed Imam for that. I train people how to use LinkedIn to generate inbound leads, and I'm annoyingly present on LinkedIn and painfully positive most of the time. And that's it, really. I'm just, that's me in a nutshell, I guess.
Yeah, thanks, Leah. No, that's great. John, go ahead.
Hi, everyone. I'm John Espirian. I am the relentlessly helpful LinkedIn nerd, content creator, writer of Content DNA. If you want to see me when I was heavier, get the book and see the back cover. And very happy to be here. Cheers.
Awesome. And of course, Andy, please.
Thanks, Bobby. Well, every person has a story, a purpose, and a legacy. I'm a keynote speaker, a virtual trainer, a coach, expert in thought leadership, storytelling, personal brand, content, and 5 times TEDx, Inc. Mag, top 100.
Wow, we should be brothers. That's fantastic.
That's Bob. That's Bobby's profile. Yes, I screenshotted John's as well. I was going to read his verbatim just in case he went to me before him. Andy Foote. You know me. If you don't know me, then you really ought to.
Okay, welcome. Well, good. Well, thanks so much. There you go. You should know this guy. Okay. So today we're going to start off with actually talking a bit about trends. So, again, if you have questions about we're going to talk about confidence content. We're going to talk about personal brand, but those are questions for Leah a little bit later. The first thing I want to do is I want to talk about trends. So basically, what is on, we're now doing this live stream every 2 weeks. So December 14th, December 28th, and then we'll start doing the New Year as well every 2 weeks. In fact, I've been shifting my entire LinkedIn content strategy. And so I'll just announce now what I'm going to do, which is essentially I'm going to do a newsletter every 2 weeks. I do a live stream every 2 weeks, probably in the off weeks of those ones. I'll be doing post 3 times per week on my profile page, and I will be the company page be probably four posts per week, and of course, and I'm going to keep, I'm scaling it back a little bit in terms of what I'm doing, and then of course a lot of commenting on other people's posts and engaging and building relationships. So that's going to be kind of where my shift is going to be. I also want to announce that the Thought Leadership Writing Club is running a live stream on tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern. I know it'll be too late for some of you folks, so I apologize for that. But we're going to be just talking about the entire year and all the things we've learned and all the things we're up to. So we're very excited about that. You can check that out on the Thought Leadership Writing Club, which is a company page on LinkedIn. With that, let's get into latest trends. And, let's, I'll again, start to Leah. Any trends on your mind in the last couple of weeks that have been, something you want to talk about or share with the world here?
Not so much something that I'm doing too much at the moment, but something that I'm noticing is appearing more across all social media is the short form videos. And I know we talked about this, Bobby, when we were in Clubhouse before, the short sort of 30 to 60-second videos, because the world has a short attention span, and it's a really powerful thing to be able to convey a message to somebody in a very short space of time, especially if it's something really, really useful. I think it really, really amplifies what an expert you are in that particular subject area, if very succinctly you can put across a very valuable piece of information in a very insubstantial amount of time. So people, you haven't taken up a lot of someone's day, but they've learned something really valuable. It's almost like they've read a few sentences and gone, whoa, that's just changed something. And it says a huge amount about how good you are in your field to be able to convey that so quickly. I think that's something that a lot of people are starting to jump on. You're seeing a lot of the LinkedIn creator managers talking about lots of short form videos. There's definitely a lean towards that across TikTok. Obviously, Instagram's very much going to videos, and LinkedIn are, like always, following in their footsteps, just quite far behind. So I think for all of us, we should all start putting in the effort to start getting better at video content if we want to jump on those future trends, because I think there is a future, especially on LinkedIn, with the shorter videos for everybody.
I find it challenging though, because when video first came out, and now to be very honest here, when the video first came out, I love video because as a professional speaker, I'm on stage, I can build presence with video, so it's great. Let me do it, and I do one every day. And the traction was great back in the day, but now when I do it, I get so little. It's like I'd rather just tell a story or do something else. And so for me, it's a bit of a struggle because, I'll sometimes spend 20, 30 minutes on a video and put it together. The 30-second tip is what I used to always do. And, when I compare the amount of traction I get with that versus the other ones, it's very frustrating. I really hope that, that LinkedIn would prioritize these in the algorithm and at least get more views, because I just think they're the best way to build some really great trust relationships. So I'm struggling with that. I wouldn't do it personally. I wouldn't do it as frequently. I definitely recognize the importance of it, and I will continue to do it because I think it's a part of my strength. But it's just frustrating, for me.
Can you not though, Bobby? Can you not take things like when you do a live stream like this and take sound bites out of it and create short videos out of something?
Oh yeah.
So that works quite well. So you don't have to, you could repurpose content. Like I'm sure I saw Bill do it from one of the Clubhouse rooms, and he did like a little visual of a soundbite, and it was a 30-second soundbite of something interesting that had been said during the Clubhouse room. And that's kind of, I think those are really good ways of doing it for people like you who can't necessarily or don't want to necessarily do it in a short manner like that. You can take those soundbites of interesting things that have been said on podcasts or interviews and then turn them into lots of different small pieces of content, which you can then use across TikTok and Instagram and post on LinkedIn and have on your website and anywhere else that you want to as well. So suddenly one live stream like this can be so much more useful for creating multiple pieces of content.
Absolutely. I mean, I've done over 150 live streams, although I haven't actually repurposed any of them. So that tells you how much.
A lot of material.
Yeah. Now, what about John? Any thoughts on this on the video content piece?
I think this is a sign of the creeping TikTokization of LinkedIn.
Oh, versus the Facebookization.
Yeah, and I think that's here to stay. 2021 stats say that more hours are spent consuming TikTok now than YouTube for the first time ever. So that's a massive change. I never thought that would happen, but it's the same for me. I'm finding I'm spending more time just browsing TikTok than browsing other things. What I want to wait for though is to see what the version 2 of stories is going to be on LinkedIn, and then try and fit in with that, because I think whatever they release next, they're probably going to stick with that. I can't imagine they're going to put something else out and then dump that again the way they did with stories. So I kind of want to fit in with whatever format that's going to be. Is it going to be something that's mobile only? Is it going to be a 30-second job? And try and make it optimized for LinkedIn first. If I can repurpose it elsewhere afterwards, all well and good. But if not, I'd rather focus on LinkedIn. So I'm just waiting to see what's coming.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the TikTokization of LinkedIn, try saying that after a couple of bevies. You can see that reflected in the CAP, in the Content Accelerator program, because a lot of those folks, you might think, well, hold on a second, what have they done on LinkedIn? Well, they haven't actually done anything on LinkedIn. They've actually accomplished stuff on elsewhere, as including TikTok, and that's probably a nod to the younger gen. And the way they prefer to share and consume content. I personally have been studying TikTok for the last 2 months intensively, and it's a lot of fun, and the algorithm is very, very clever. So yeah, I agree with everything that's been said so far. I think Leah's spot on. I think people, if you're not doing video, then you might regret it. But I also think that an easy way to get into putting yourself in front of the camera is putting yourself in front of the microphone first and getting comfortable there, because we all saw how people came out of their shells during Clubhouse. So that's the first point. I think that's the easy ramp up. It's like, oh, actually, I can put a sentence together. I can think on my feet, and I've got something valuable to share. And then all of a sudden, you're making that transition from in front of the mic to in front of the camera. I also think that doing stuff like that together on screen is a lot easier, a lot more fun. It's more of a vibrant content situation if you've got a ton of people, bouncing ideas and things off each other, and it's a lot less lonely, isn't it, than just sat in a car on your iPhone cam. So yeah, that's what I imagine would be the best way to do it.
And I'll admit that I have not been on TikTok yet. So I know.
You're gonna fall down.
I've avoided it for a while, and I realize that I might try it out, but I've avoided it. There's already a couple of questions regarding TikTok. So there's people already asking questions. So already we have, let's see, one is from Zoe Berman. She said, what do you think of TikTok style of short form video on LinkedIn? So is the same style appropriate for LinkedIn? What do you think of that?
I think it works really well. I've done a few, and I've seen people who've got 3 or 4 minute videos that will get a fraction of the views, and they've got far bigger followings, but they'll have these heavily edited, heavily planned, heavily scripted videos that have taken hours to create, and they've got triple or quadruple the amount of followers that I've got, and they're getting a fraction of the visibility that my 30-second TikTok that took literally no editing, or it's a 60-second Instagram reel with automatic captions. I've done no editing on it whatsoever, and I'm just literally putting it out into the world, and suddenly you've got like 25,000-30,000 views on it, and it took me like under 2 minutes from starting to posting. And like I think that's the thing, more than people want to consume 30-second videos, it's that people want to make video content, but they don't want to spend hours editing and scripting and subtitling and all of that, because we're busy. We don't have time for that. So better to get out a 30-second video that takes 2 minutes to create than spending 2 hours doing it and then it doesn't get any views. If a 30-second video only gets 1,000 views for me, it's not the end of the world. So it takes the pressure off creating so much. And I think it makes creating more fun, more accessible for everybody. And you don't have to feel like, oh God, I've got to remember my lines for a 4-minute video. What if I stumble? Then I'm going to have to go back to the beginning. It's going to be a faff to edit it. 30 seconds, we can all say something for 30 seconds. So I love seeing short videos on LinkedIn. I'll be totally honest. I'm totally ADHD. If I see somebody with a 3-minute video, I'm like, scroll on. I will not give someone 3 minutes of my day because I'm busy. And if I don't know them, it doesn't appeal to me. And I think one of the key things that people don't do on LinkedIn, which is really, really crucial for building trust, is tell me what the video is about. And I really prefer to see a thumbnail that says what I'm going to see in the next few minutes. Tell me what I'm going to stop and see. And if I'm not interested, I'll keep scrolling. But if I am, I'm going to stop. And people don't use that thumbnail facility enough on LinkedIn. You can add a separate thumbnail if you upload on desktop. So you can take a screenshot from your video and just add a title screen or a title on it that says, this is my Bobby's top 3 personal branding tips. So I'm going to be much more likely to stop because I know that I'm going to get something interesting. It's nice and bold on the screen right there in front of your face. 3 personal branding tips. Oh, I'm going to watch that. That's useful to me. But if it's 3 tips to cast your net further when you're fishing, I'm going to go, not interested, right? Keep scrolling. It's a way to build trust and credibility because you're preparing people for what they're about to learn, and gives them that trust with you. I think that's massively underused for people, but with TikToks, people tend to do that. There tends to be like a title on it, so you know what to expect because you've got to grab their attention.
And there's another question too from Aaron Fish that says, can B2B take advantage of the TikTokification of social media?
100%, because it's so good for asserting what you're good at. So you can just, it could be you know, recruiters talking about how to be more confident in an interview, or you look at people like Juan Salting, and he does all of his like LinkedIn stuff on Instagram Reels and TikToks about how to write good cover letters and how to search for your jobs. What is it that you do that other people don't know how you do it, and teach them in little tiny bites, teach them step-by-step guides. That's why TikTok is going crazy and TikTok Learn is being so huge. It's those behind the scenes. How do you make it? I worked with a guy from a waste recycling company today, training him on TikTok. And I was like, show me how the bins move. Show me what it's like behind the scenes in a recycling center. How do they sort the rubbish? Tell me funny stories about things that have happened. Have the guys like jumping on and off the thing and riding on the back of it. Show me what goes on, because it's such simple content to make, and it's that behind the scenes stuff. So yeah, 100%. We want to see those relationships with your colleagues. We want to see the relationships with your clients. We want to see behind the scenes of your working environment, all of that. And you can do it all in 30 or 60-second videos in very little time.
Yeah, TikTok is so different though. You don't get thumbnails, but you do get sucked into the feed, because I just keep scrolling, and the algo is so clever that it understands what I want to see more of. And there are, I mean, the story, right? The idea that you have, whether it's a 30-second or a 3-minute, is always going to be key. But TikTok does some very clever stuff. So you've got very catchy or cool music, if you wish. You've got stuff that, for example, right now they're doing what made you what post went viral for you in 21. So now you're seeing the greatest hits, and if you look at those, they're usually hilarious. And the other thing that I find is you can't sometimes distinguish between the ones that are actually a setup. So, and that's if you can pull that off, that's pretty spectacular too, because did that really happen? Was that so random and it was caught on camera? So yeah, it gives you everything. I would love to see LinkedIn give a very similar capability on LinkedIn, and then see what people do with it. But B2B, if you're clever and you've got funny bones, yeah, you could definitely go viral, as opposed to going viral with a text post or a slider. That ain't going to happen. But if you do something which is truly original and laugh your socks off funny, then I think it's all there to for the win.
Yeah.
I think the key insight for me is that I'm not seeing any B2B content on TikTok, which makes it a blue ocean. It's something that you can do that others aren't doing. And that gives you a first mover advantage. So take it while you can.
On TikTok, but also even using it for their B2B content on LinkedIn as well.
Sure.
So for the pages. Let's move on to what's on Andy's mind the last few weeks.
Well, yeah, in the pre-show chat, we touched on this, but I bet that all four of us are probably thinking about that bell, are probably wanting to talk about, not just the what, but also the why. And I think it's stunningly the biggest by far change on the platform since LinkedIn Publisher was rolled out to the plebs. I think that it's huge, because all of a sudden you've got a subscribe option for short form content. And if you're a long form content like myself, who prefers that vehicle to market, you actually get 2 bites of the cherry, don't you? Because you've got the ability to subscribe to someone's posts, and every newsletter that you push out starts with a post. So you've got, okay, notify me when Andy posts, short form, a post, and then also the option to reel them in as a subscriber to your newsletter. I'd love to see the bell option to follow, for example, Leah in her post, rather than going to the profile page, because that's a barrier, right? People really don't visit your profile page unless they're nosing around and want to find out more about you.
But to combat that though, if you have the bell activated on somebody and you're notified every time they post, when are you ever going to visit their profile? And therefore does not the profile end up becoming redundant? So I prefer to have the bell on the profile because I want people to go to my profile to be able to do that, because I want them to find out more about my service, because I don't necessarily post all that information all the time. That's my sales page.
Well, if we keep an eye on the profile page visits, we'll be able to see what happens. But we always see a surge, don't we, when something is caught? Either we've been recommended, or we've landed on, a top 50 list, or as recently happened, there was a guy in Saudi Arabia who's been following me for a while, said, hey, here are the people to follow, and there are, I don't know, 8 or so, and I got like 200 connection requests, so I had to go through those and decide who I wanted to to connect with. So yeah, you're right. That's that could be an issue, but the why, would love to talk about the why, but also want to hear what Bobby and John think about. When I say Bobby, I want to say Johnny.
Well, sorry, one quick thing.
Johnny.
One quick thing though, Andy. Can you explain to the viewers just about the basics of the bell? Where is it? Where they find it?
Sure. Yeah. So in the last week and a half, this thing appeared. Actually, it was probably 2 weeks ago, and people like Alex Lowe, another few people basically said, hey, have you seen the bell? And I had no idea what they were talking about. And then as it is being rolled out, essentially it's a notify me or subscribe option. That's what it's called according to LinkedIn. And it appears below your banner, I think on the far right. It appears on other people's pages, right? You won't be able to see currently if you have the bell on, even if you have the feature, if you have the bell on your profile page. So Leah, let's say Leah's got it, right? She can see the bell on my page. It appears there for the clicking. Once you click on it once, voila, you are subscribed. You will get notified every time Leah wants to see John's, Bobby's, my post. She will get a notification saying, hey, Bobby, blah, 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 has posted. So that's straight into notifications. Apparently it works pretty well. If you click on that bell twice, it actually unsubscribes you, but it says something like, you will only see Bobby's top posts, which is interesting. We can analyze that because that's the standard. In other words, that's the algo distribution method. So maybe top is coming into that, and whether or not our posts are top quality, I don't know if that's a reference to why they call it top. So 1 click to subscribe, 2 clicks to unsubscribe, but essentially it's notifying you whenever someone, an author, a creator you're interested in posts, so short form posts, you will get a notification. That's it in essence.
Well, I can't see it on people's posts right now, so
neither can I.
Yeah, so I don't know. So I can't see it on people's posts, and I don't know if people didn't see my posts. But certainly, I think my only issue with this is, again, when we discussed newsletters, and the fact that 10,000 subscribe my newsletter, but then LinkedIn doesn't give them my newsletter when I send it. That just really pisses me off. So if they're going to ring my bell, and they're not going to get notifications, that sucks too. So I hope they're not doing that.
Yeah, agreed.
Any other thoughts?
Yeah, well, when I first turned on the feature, I got the feature 6 days ago. When I turned it on, I didn't notice any difference at all. And it's only when I went looking in my settings and privacy panel, in communications, and then in network, and there was another option that said something like activities by my connections. And only when I turned that on did I start reliably receiving notifications. So I shared that information with my group and said, look, if you're not getting these notifications, go and turn this extra feature on. And that's when a load of people replied saying, I can't see my preferences. My communication screen is blank. Now that's been reported to LinkedIn support at least twice, probably 3 times that I know of. And I don't know when they're going to fix that, but that setting was crucial to me being able to see that feature. Another thing to bear in mind is that you will see the bell only if you are following someone already. So if you're not following someone, or if you've connected with someone but have subsequently unfollowed them, that bell won't be shown. As soon as you refollow them or follow them for the first time, the bell appears immediately. So just keep that in mind.
So clunky. This is just a LinkedIn typical rollout. It's faffy, it's bitty, it's confusing,
slow as well. It's odd
intentions, but it's not actually functioning. It's just that it's typical LinkedIn.
Feels like it's been rushed out. Bobby, go.
Sorry, what does faffy mean? Is that a British term? But I don't.
Yes.
Like messing, like
Faffing
faffing,
around.
using and difficult.
Yeah.
Faffing
Yes.
about means like messing about, right?
Yes.
It's just it's the same with like stories. They roll out it out to a few people. It's really clunky. You can only access it on mobile unless someone tags you, and then you can see it in their chat. You're constantly getting flooded by story replies that go straight into your inbox, and they haven't thought it through. They're just in such a rush to do something.
So that's the why, isn't it? I mean, there's no LinkedIn help section about this, and the fact that you need to be a follower before you see the bell is kind of insane. It's kind of insane. Everyone should have it. So why? Kevin Turner, who I'm sure you guys know, he made an interesting point a few days ago. He says that he thinks that perhaps this is my phrasing, a hedge against proposed legislation about algos, and that makes sense, doesn't it? Because all of a sudden it's pushed out. There's no help page. Let's do this now. Let's do this now, and then we'll build it later, and we'll release it into the wild, and we'll worry about it later. The sooner the better. Why? Because if let's say there's a select committee and LinkedIn is one of the people at the table, and they're being criticized for using algorithms for, we can talk about whatever next, then they can now say, actually, no, we have a non-algo route to give people their content if they choose it. Right? If they don't choose it, then it's algo related. But they can, so they have a choice. So that's a big, robust defense against that. But then the second part of that is, well, is LinkedIn really doing anything bad? Not Facebook bad with algorithms. It's what? It's just it's using it as a distribution tool. Is it? I think the question is it furthering the echo chamber? Is it putting people at risk? Is it causing any real harm? Those are the questions that I think need to be asked.
I worry personally about my clients, like if they're new to LinkedIn and they're at the beginning of their journey on LinkedIn, and you've got a lot of people that have rung a lot of bells and they're following a lot of different people. How are the people at the very start of their journey? How are they getting seen? How are they going to break through into those news feeds if you've got a news feed full of people that you want to see? For me, I might have like 100 of my clients and ring all of their bells, so I know my feed is coming up with people that I know I want to support. But what about clients I'm not working with yet? What about my future clients? Is my news feed now clogged with people that I'm interested in, but I'm not getting anything organic through that helps me to build relationships with new people? So how do I know if I am choosing? I feel like what should happen is I should have a separate feed where it's what the algorithm wants me to see, and then a priority feed, which is all of the people whose bells I've rung. So I can see all of their content in one priority feed, but I don't want to lose what the algorithm thinks. Because if I follow a load of people that have got dogs, and I know that they're posting pictures of dogs and it's in my priority feed, I love these people, these are my fellow dog lovers. But then what if I want to meet new dog lovers? That's where the algorithm learns that I like dog pictures, and then in my algorithm feed, I find new people with dogs to engage with. Like as an example, I'm going to lose the opportunity to find new creators to engage with unless I actually go looking for them.
But you do. You can rely on the algo to serve up randos or stuff that the algorithm is smart enough to think that, oh, Leah might be interested in this in the feed. But notifications is where I personally live, because that's the relevancy for me, right? It's always going to be people who tag me, or it's bells. So you've got the notifications, which should be pretty relevant, and then you've got the feed, which is that's why I don't like. That's why I say, short form content. It goes into the feed. It's messy. It's a hot mess, and it's too busy, and it's too noisy with stuff I don't want to see. So the algorithm is not working for me, but maybe that's the way that I built it over the years, right? Because I connected with a bunch of randos early on to ramp up, right? And maybe that's which, as the Americans say, is biting me in the AWS. So yeah, you do have the balance, I think.
I just worry that the algorithm's learning about your likes because of whose bell you've rung, so that's going to then be more in your newsfeed.
I think that's an indirect effect. I mean, clicking a load of bells is going to increase your notifications burden. It won't have a direct impact on your feed, but if you interact with that content a lot more, then that will then start permeating through to your feed. So it will have an indirect impact.
Yeah.
The very first thing that I asked for when I wrote my LinkedIn fixed list, which was about 2.5 years ago, was a feature that says, have a see first feature. So you could pick your top 5 and limit it to a number and say, I want to see these people's content first. There's no way that you should be able to overload that. And this is what I'm wondering about with bells. Because they haven't talked about it at all in help, we don't know how many bells you can actually click and for them to actually be able to send you those notifications, because LinkedIn has a notification inventory. They can't flood that constantly because they'd be sending you too much noise. But if I go and, let's say I'm following 500 people, if I go and click those bells, there's no way that I'm going to get 500 sets of notifications on top of everything else. There's just not enough space for LinkedIn to show me all of that, which suggests that there's probably a silent limit to the number of bells you can actually effectively click, which LinkedIn won't tell us. And they haven't given us a kind of dashboard that says, here are all the bells you clicked. Do you want to go and see all those right now?
Right.
That would be a lovely kind of back-end feature. They haven't given us that either.
But
I'd
apparently,
rather have that than notifications. I'd rather have a bell feed of my favorites.
apparently that's coming. We're gonna get Beth Granger in my Discord group. Apparently found out from her creator manager that we will be able to see who has subscribed via the bell. So that's going to be useful. But I agree, John, it's a question of managing it. And I suggested that maybe 50 to 75 bells might be manageable. But if all of those creators that you're following subscribe to, if they're doing daily or multiple times a week, that's going to be a pretty busy no, unsubscribe. So be careful with that. And the other point that I want to make about this whole bell situation is pods. This now makes them more powerful, right? Because all they'll say to their members is, all right, bell each other, bell ends. And there's a never ending. And so they'll now have that tool where, it pulls them closer together. They're more cohesive as a unit. So it works in their favor. But again, we can spot pods. We know what they're all about. And we don't have to have any part of it.
Yeah. I saw a screenshot today in the article that I mentioned to you earlier, Andy, by Toma at LinkedIn. He included a screenshot of the bell showing up on mobile profiles. And I only know one person who has that. So I've got the feature, but I've only got it on desktop. But it looks as though that's coming.
Why do they keep doing that? Why do they keep giving us stuff that can only be used on mobile or desktop?
Because they've got different engineering teams. They've got a desktop engineering team and a mobile engineering team. That's why the feeds are different on both platforms. It's not the same team, which doesn't really make sense, but that's just the way it's.
But don't they talk to each other?
Well, I'm not even sure that they do that. So some of the things seem counterintuitive. One other interesting thing from that article, and we should put the link into the comments if we can, is that there are going to be enhanced post analytics for short form posts. Now, I've seen a video of that. It doesn't actually look like there's a whole lot more data than what I've already got in my view, but apparently it's being restructured. So that's on the way too. It's meant to be something that's going to help creators. There's been nothing said about bells for company pages, by the way, because there are some company pages I really like, especially I want to keep an eye on LinkedIn's ones because they might say something interesting in news, or one of their senior editors might be publishing something. And I kind of like to be able to click the bells there, but it's only for personal profiles right now.
We have a question too from Nigel Burton saying that, is there a reason why LinkedIn is so secretive about explaining how their features work? It feels that we have to experiment to find out all this stuff.
Yeah, I don't think half of them know.
Well, I mean, that's a good point, right? Because sometimes they probably do work in silos, and I'm not convinced that many of them actually publish on a regular basis either, based on some of the responses I've had. But I don't think they're secretive. I think that's just the way they've done it. The expression riding your bike while trying to fix it comes to mind. That they do this. They do a lot of stuff which is it's thrown against the wall and see what sticks, right? It's experimental in nature. Slow rollouts because they want to make sure that there are no big problems. They can stop the rollout if necessary. It's really that bicycle analogy. But also they don't have to. right? They don't have to tell us what they're up to. That's not the way the business model works. The business model works in a very simple way. It's a site that's very sticky, changes all the time. So it keeps you coming back, keeps you on your toes. You need to
keeps everyone talking about it because we're always moaning.
I mean, this show would not exist, right? If they gave us a help page and gave us all the facts, everything we needed to know, we wouldn't be here talking. So it works on many different levels. It's not ideal for us, right? We don't know which rollout we're in. We don't know when to get it. Sometimes we don't know what to do with it. So yeah, it works for them. It doesn't work for us. We are the product.
All right, so let me just keep going because we're getting into the trends. We've already been here half an hour. So this is the Power Connection Chat, a bi-weekly live stream that we host every second Tuesday of the month, or sorry, second and fourth Tuesday of the month. And again, Andy and John and Lee are here, and we're having some great conversations. I didn't get a chance to hear from John what his trend. I mean, I want to get to Leah's question too, but John, maybe you and I quickly share a trend. I'll just share a quick trend that I'm noticing, which is. I know I did John's. One is the GIFs. So I know Joel Alge is doing a lot of GIFs. And I tried doing GIFs before, but they were downloaded. I was taking some Star Trek GIFs and no one seemed to care and they weren't doing well. But when you actually can produce your own GIFs with a 5-second loop, and again, like to Leah's point about video, short videos, if it encapsulates the point really well in 5 seconds, that's my daughter. If it encapsulates the point in about 5 seconds, then that's actually really great. It's getting some, and Joel was saying he had one that had 1 million views and it got great traction. So that's a trend that I see that's also out there. Again, short.
But you've got to remember that Joel's audience, Joel's network is predominantly recruiters. Like he's got a massive network of recruiters because that's what he's been doing for years. And the content that he's creating is very, very specifically recruiter humor. So it's connecting perfectly. He's got the right audience and it literally hits. And then all those recruiters comment and they're connected to loads more recruiters. So it grows crazy. When one of my solicitor clients started creating humorous or very specific law content, and she's followed by a huge number of lawyers, it goes crazy because it's so relevant to her audience. So I think that's Joel's secret sauces. It's so relevant to his
yeah network. I know, but I agree. But in his point, he was saying that it's relatively proportionally doing better than the other one. So he's like, okay, this is something that's working well if you know how to do it well. And so I've been experimenting, but I haven't actually been able to. I haven't figured out the right platform to create these. But
your
gifts.
Demographic, your following isn't really specific in one niche, is it? Like if you were followed by
mine's pretty diverse. So that's why I like experiment.
So not one sort of GIF is going to relate to so many.
Oh yeah,
of them.
no, I guess.
So you won't get that. I put a few out, and I don't get the traction that Joel gets on them. But he's starting to a real stride with it now.
And you're probably getting better relative traction from your videos than I am. That's why you are advocating for that. And for me, I'm finding it to comparatively not do as well as other things that I talk about. So, John, what about you? What's on your mind last couple weeks?
Well, I think one of them is that I'm seeing people using posts in a way that they weren't originally intended to be used as. So let me give you an analogy here. If you want an image to travel further through the LinkedIn network, you'll turn it into a one-page PDF because document posts tend to get better visibility than standard image posts. So that's kind of a little trick. And I think people are using that kind of idea with polls. So they'll put out something that looks like a poll, but actually it's a vehicle for getting a different message out in the body of the post. And then the poll component becomes almost academic. It's there as a kind of, not a Trojan horse, but it's just the vehicle to deliver the other message. So I'm not too happy with that. And I'm starting to see some kickback on polls. And so I saw one today from someone saying, I'm fed up of these, I can't opt out of them. Next time I see one in my feed, I'm blocking that person. It's like really, the nuclear option. I don't really use them myself, but I'm kind of a bit fed up of seeing most of them because they rarely seem to ask an interesting question. And I guess the other thing is the ongoing situation with newsletters. A lot of people said, we're gonna wait till the new year and see where the dust settles, but I'm starting to get a few more invitations as people are having a go at this. I'm interested to see what happens when people reach episode 2 of their newsletter, because the first one will come out with a bang, everyone will get a notification, loads of people will subscribe. What happens when that second one goes out? How many people are unsubscribing? How many people are actually clicking through? How many people are reading the email? We're not really quite sure, but I think the people who are going to just last and keep doing it on a regular schedule, they'll win. Everyone else is just going to fall by the wayside. So I'm interested to hear what people think about longevity of newsletters, but those are probably the couple of things. What do you reckon, Andy?
Yeah, you're dead on. I think the people that win are consistent always, but also they're at this level in terms of what they're bringing, whether it's, you know, very social, engaging stuff. I agree with you on polls. I haven't seen a truly interesting poll question for months and months, and I totally understand the poll fatigue. So if you're consistent and you're a high quality content producer, you know your own strength, and you keep in that lane, I think you're going to win. But for the future, I think we're going to see metaverse on LinkedIn. That's I think it's inevitable, and it's just a question of when, not if. And imagine, for example, what I was saying earlier about the difficulty in some people, you know, putting themselves in front of the lens. They won't have any such difficulty if it's simply a matter of going into the metaverse. It's like putting on an avatar suit, and you can look however you want. Right. And so you don't have to worry about background. You don't have to worry about, you know, your hair, etc. You could have interviews where your race, your age, your religion, etc. None of that matters, because it's not in the picture. It's purely how you answer the questions compared to whatever 4 or 5 other candidates that day. So that's going to be mind-blowing. It's going to open up the world in terms of LinkedIn is concerned. Imagine translate bots. So you're in China, you're in a Chinese metaverse situation room, right, talking about, I don't know, crypto, and you're able to converse on the fly, right, with these a Chinese professor, for example. It's going to be amazing, and it is going to happen.
That makes me excited and anxious. Like, oh, my social anxiety is through the roof, but this does sound quite fun. Like, I don't know which way I swing on that one. Yeah.
And before we segue into a question for Leah, you know, I'll just say that newsletters, polls, video, TikTok videos. I mean, you know, that's why we talk a lot about mindset, because everyone has all these things, how they hate this or they dislike this or whatever. And, you know, the truth is, like, other people dislike being on TikTok. Other people don't want to be on Instagram. Other people don't like the Facebook occasion or whatever. And the truth is, it's all a mindset thing. Like, if there are people out there who are using every single one of those things very well to their advantage for their audience and for their business. And so if you want to learn how to do polls instead of being annoyed by them, follow the best to do it. You want to learn how to do TikTok videos and not stop being annoyed by them, follow the ones that do them. There's someone else just mentioned, do newsletters really work? Not sure if they're worth the time. I mean, you know, my general take on that is, look, I've had a newsletter externally on my website for 10 years and I have 2,000 subscribers. I've done 4 newsletters on LinkedIn. I have 10,500 subscribers. That to me is fantastic. To have a quarter of my audience seeing my content versus the 1 or 2% that sees it on a daily basis, that is amazing. And so I'm all for newsletters.
I think with newsletters, the thing is, you've got to be providing, I know everyone says it, but you've got to be providing value. So one of the things that I've done in my newsletters is I've got some repeated sections where I'm giving out LinkedIn tips and content ideas. So people are getting something positive from it. And I've been offering discounts. So I've got companies that will offer me a discount that's something that's complementary to what I do. And I can then say to them, look, you can get this video package with this company, and they've given me £250 off if you give my name. So I'm literally handing out value over value and making it humorous and making it easy to read and not too long. And so people know when they come back to my newsletter, it's not just me rambling about one particular subject that I've popped off the top of my head. It's something that tangibly they can take away with them and use. So I think that's going to be the key that keeps people coming back, is that you're playing to their interests and giving them something.
And you can tell if they're working, right? Because your newsletters, you don't get growth. You don't get subscriber growth if your newsletter's crap. So in that sense, it's a very, basic step, but that's a good sign that whatever you're doing, you're doing well or right. Sorry, John, I cut you off.
Well, I mean, just to respond to that point, I think your newsletter needs to be either comment worthy or shareable, because otherwise all you're going to do is delight the people who've already subscribed. But if they're not telling anyone about it, either via referring that content through comments or sharing the stuff through dark social, you know, DMing a load of people that you never see saying you've got to subscribe to this, then that thing won't grow. The other thing that what Leah just said just reminded me of something, which is that almost one of the most important tips of copywriting is you've got to focus on your headline. It's just so important. And in the era of your newsletter will go into an inbox, an email inbox, and your belled subscribers will get a tiny little bit in their notifications. That first line of your newsletter and that first line of your short form posts now become even more important, because they're selling the promise that will get the click, either that opens the email or that clicks through the notification to the post. So whereas we used to think, oh, you've got 3 lines to play with, or maybe if it's text post, you've got 5 lines to play with. Well, maybe you've got 1 line to play with, and that's your headline. And if you haven't hooked them in that period, they're not going to click through. Might be the best post in the world. You start with a stupid headline, they might not come through. So redouble your focus on your opening line. It's really, really important. And if all of this stuff ever gets indexed by Google, even more so. Only 10% of my short form posts are indexed by Google, but still, I write everything as though this is a headline and here's all the rest.
And if you're really lucky, name recognition will get you there regardless of your headline. If your headline is crappy, it's, oh, hold on a second, it's Leah. I want to see what Leah has to say, this month, this week. So that's the rarefied heights that you want to aim for, obviously, sure. And you become a Leah by doing something very, very well for a longish period of time.
It's longish.
It's longish. Yeah, she's 2 years into your LinkedIn journey now, and at the peak already. I mean, that's.
This isn't my peak. This is not my peak.
Yeah, that's it. It's all down. It's all down.
Still on the way up.
It's all down from now. Oh yeah, just look at John. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
Now, speaking of Leah,
if you've got that brand reputation and you've got a compelling headline, you're going to be unignorable. Then that's what you want.
I threatened to kill a house plant if they didn't open my newsletter, and that worked quite well. So it's just being creative and
Absolutely. All right, speaking of Leah, though, she's our guest of honor today, so I want to make sure we get to the questions for her. So we have a question for Leah to answer. And again, if you have questions you want to ask Leah or us old people here, you can ask us too, but you can ask Leah as well. She's the star today. We want to feature her. The question number 1 is, you talk about confidence in content, and so that's something that most creators struggle with. Can you share a bit of your own journey, Leah, and what are some of the biggest insights have been around confidence with content?
So I think one of the big things that people forget when they see me is that they don't realize that I'm actually quite introverted, and they just assume bright blonde hair and creative, that I am comfortable in the limelight, and I'm not. So actually, when I first started creating content on LinkedIn, I wasn't being myself. I was trying to be corporate and fit what I thought people wanted to hear. And then I realized that wasn't connecting with people. And I went, oh, well, I may as well give it a go. But my confidence is a constant work in progress. Each time I'm about to do something that I haven't done before, or like put my price up or introduce a new product, I have the same imposter syndrome that everybody does. And it takes my boyfriend and my friends and my close clients that sort of say to me, you're not, this is rubbish. You're like, stop thinking that you can't, look at what you've done. And I have to have somebody speak to me and sort of say, you've done all of this stuff. Why are you doubting yourself? You're being ridiculous. And I still need that. But you can't build that confidence until you start stepping outside of your comfort zone. So when I'm speaking to my clients, I say to them, look, I'm not expecting you to be posting your deepest, darkest secrets and all of your woes and your struggles. I don't expect that off the bat. But the more you start posting content and engaging with other people's content that feels truthful, that feels honest, that feels slightly vulnerable within your comfort zone, you're going to start easing yourself into that and go, actually, do you know what? I saw that post of her sharing about her ADHD, and actually I'd quite like to talk about something like that because it's something that's affecting me. And I know her post helped me, so I want to help somebody else. So it's a case of allowing yourself to be pushed just a little bit beyond your comfort zone and embracing that, and remembering that we can do hard things. Even if we're scared, we can still do them. The fear doesn't have to stop us. We just have to go, okay, it's going to feel a bit uncomfortable doing this. Sometimes I post stuff and I literally feel like there are bugs all over my skin because the vulnerability is just like, oh. but the impact of it is so huge that you realize that that uncomfortable feeling was worth it. And then my confidence shoots up a level. It feels uncomfortable in the moment, but afterwards my confidence goes up. So I think you've got to let go of that need to get lots of engagement to impress other people, and realize that sometimes your content, it's not going to get engagement from lots of people, but the right people are going to see it, and someone is going to slip into your DMs and say, thank you so much for posting that, it really changed my life. And actually that's more important than getting 1 million views. The impact that it has to one person, and that person is then going to become a devoted fan to you and support what you do and mention your name to people who need your service. And really, that's way better for your personal confidence than having 1,000 likes on a GIF, 1 million views on a GIF that isn't building your brand, isn't actually doing anything for your business. That's completely pointless unless it does something to help you with your business. That's why we're on LinkedIn. So better to impact a small number of people significantly than millions insignificantly, you know? So I think that really helps, is just trying it and biting the bullet and joining us with content. Post. There's so many people that don't post, and it makes me sad, and they're so afraid of it, but you can't get confident doing it unless you start.
That makes me think about Andy and John. I mean, where did your confidence come from when it came to putting content out there? I mean, it is just habit and started working on it. Like, I mean, I'm curious about how that happened for you in your history.
Well, for me, I'm a professional writer. I spend a lot of time writing, and it's just exhausting to try and pretend to be something you're not. So in the end, when I eventually kind of relaxed and started putting stupid cartoons into my content and just having a bit of personality and just being the way I am when I speak to people, it became easier to create the content, and it resonated more with my kind of people. So it just came naturally over time. It was about 2 or 3 years where I just wasn't doing that, and my content wasn't getting any results. But through repetition and through just being exhausted by pretending to be suit and tie when I'm jeans and t-shirt, then it started to work. And everyone else I've spoken to has who's had success has had that. No one's coming in at 100 miles an hour as themselves from day one and smashing it. People don't do that. Everyone tries to conform and look around them and see, try and play by the rules. But the sooner you can just relax and be yourself, then the more you've got the opportunity for people to love you and resonate with you. And that's the secret. Just be you.
What about you, Andy? I'm just curious.
Yeah, I was going to say, John and I are very similar because we're both writers. So we love the written form. And yeah, I think my hallmark is, and I think where my confidence comes from is that I like to simplify, and I like to put myself in the shoes of the people that are reading it. And I think to myself, well, what do they want to know here? But also, I never forget my tagline, which is advanced LinkedIn strategy. So I don't just report the news. I also want to understand the why. And I think that's often a very rich vein to mine. I think people love to know what's going on. It was back to that question about, why are LinkedIn so secretive? Well, I want to pull out some of those answers, hopefully. And as John said, it doesn't happen overnight. But at the same time, you've got to accept that sometimes it's probably not going to happen. So in other words, you've got to find your strength. If you feel that you're bashing your head against the wall and you're not creative, then maybe find another medium, find another way of going to market. Maybe it should be in front of camera rather than the written word. And so, or if you really are stuck for creativity, then you've got to hire someone. Frankly, you've got to get help. You've got to hire someone like Leah, because you can't be a Leah Turner. That's never going to happen, right? But you can find out the technique she's used to amplify your brand in a way that is true to yourself. But yeah, like I say, sometimes it's not going to happen. And I do feel that there's it's a 2-tier system on LinkedIn, that there's a bottom tier that will never ever get the eyeballs no matter what they do, and then if you're lucky enough to get into this rarefied atmosphere where you become well known and it's just your brand rather than your headline that basically sells tickets to, you know, the John Espirian or the Bobby Umar show, then you're golden. That's a wonderful thing
not to try to
for.
pitch my products at all, but this is why I created the products that I did, because I saw this massive deficit in people being able to be creative. So they saw the carousels that I was making, they saw the banners that I create, they saw the videos, they saw the templates that I was using, they read my posts, and they're going, well, I just don't have the ideas. So I created content prompts, I created content calendars, I created profile templates to help people to do that, so they can take my creativity and repurpose it for themselves. So they can be creative, but they've got that leg up. And I've created almost like a step ladder for them and said, here, I've done the hard work. You just need to change the colors, fill in the blanks, and then you've got an amazing profile, or you've got a year's worth of content ideas with leading questions to help you be creative. Because that's what I saw with a lot of my clients. They don't have that. It's not that they're not creative, it's just they don't have they're not into the habit of spotting things in their lives that would make good content, or spotting ideas. And it's not that they're not creative, it's just or that they're not interesting, which a lot of them think. It's they're just not spotting what will make good content, because they've got the idea that they need to write some Shakespeare sonnet for people to engage with it. And actually it's not. It could be as simple as what you did that morning, or something funny that happened with a client. It doesn't have to be some War and Peace style piece of writing. It doesn't have to be some highly edited video. It can be simple. People overcomplicated it and then get like completely filled with anxiety and then just don't do it.
I've always been a learn by doing type person. So for me, the more I do something, you know, practice makes permanent the habits, the attitudes, the beliefs within your head. So I think that's a big part of it. But then also for me, you know, personal branding has done very well, because when I dove into my personal brand to understand my values, my skills, my traits, and also seeing what people saw in me, what they liked about me. And when they started to, you know, say very clearly, Bobby, you should become a professional speaker, I was far more confident doing that than I ever was in the corporate space. And so I find that personal branding is also a great tool to, you know, help you understand, you know, who you are, where your strengths are, and where people will, you know, will resonate with you. Which segues nicely into the next question for Leah, which is, and actually, sorry, there's a question too. Maybe I should do that first for you. Actually, it's a nice question for Leah. But he says, Simon Ward says, what do you do if you're not particularly creative, me, but just want to get good, solid advice to your target audience? The more pure creative there is out there, pot plants, the harder it is to get a boring but valuable message out.
If you're connecting with the right people that are going to receive your message well and find it useful, then you have a network full of people that you can entertain. Now, you don't need to do it in any fancy way. There's no fancy way. Get your tripod, get your iPhone and speak to the camera for 30 seconds and give me some advice. Caption it and post it. Tell me in the text what you're going to teach me. It doesn't have to be super fancy. It doesn't have to be super complicated. You don't have to have fancy backdrops and editing skills. It can be simple. You just need to be saying something that they need to hear. And, you know, tag a few people in the comments that you know will find it useful. Make sure that you're engaging with active people that you know will find it useful, and support their content so they'll reciprocate. So you don't have to be, I think there's a huge problem with comparison. People see someone who's creating content like me, or someone like Andy, and you guys, you're all very confident with the content that you create because we've been doing it lots, and they assume they're comparing their day 1 to our day 1500, and they're going, well, why can't I do it like that? Look at all of their engagement. I started with no likes on my posts, and I built it up, and I know what my audience likes now because I've been doing it frequently. So I know what to say to engage their attention. I know what they want to learn about. So you have to learn, and part of the learning process is taking a bullet a few times and getting absolutely shit engagement. And you just have to kind of go, okay, well, that's going to happen, but I've learned my lesson from it, and I don't do that kind of content in future, or I need to make it better. And get feedback from people. Ask people for feedback on your content. What did they like about it? What do they think they could do more? You know, it's something that I deal with a lot with people. So happy to have a conversation with him about it if he wants to message me, if he's struggling. But yeah.
Yeah, and again, feedback's a big part of the personal branding process too, to listen to what people think of you and how they experience you. So another question, and again, we're at the top of the hour, so I don't know how long you guys can go. I mean, I'm happy to go an extra few minutes, but this other question really is really how do you use personal branding with your content, your profile, etc. Why is it so important? I know you like to talk about it, so maybe talk a bit about that.
So for me, I'm distinctive. Okay, so I've got the advantage that to look at, I'm very distinctive, especially because like you can see all my tattoos in my profile picture, so that does give me an edge. But I use things like the pink background and the rainbow, and I use those colors, and I use the same fonts, and I use the same kind of wording, and you'll see it throughout my content. So if I post a screenshot, it's got a pink background and my logo on it. If I post a video, the thumbnail has got a pink title screen. I've got a very distinctive logo that you see throughout. If I post a selfie, I've got my mug with my logo on it. It creates this familiarity, which feels comfortable for people. So when they see something, I get people message me all the time. They've been out walking their dogs and they've seen a rainbow and they send me a picture going, saw this rainbow and thought of you. That's personal branding. To be able to create something, to have a jingle on my profile and people find themselves singing it while they're doing the washing up. And they're annoyed because they're singing it, but it makes them think of me, right? That's so powerful because even when people aren't logged on to LinkedIn, they're thinking about me and what I do. That's what you want to do. That is the power of personal branding, but you need to give people more than just words to connect with. People are more visual. And so when we see a color combination that's familiar, like I could give you, if I said to you red, white, and blue, name me 3 brands that include those colors in your head, immediately you're going to be thinking of like British Airways, and you'll think of like the Union Jack. There's things in your head that you'll just Aquafresh. You're going to have those things in your head. It's so important to carry those things. If I do bullet points in my post, I use little rainbows because it's all really strong part of my brand. So you want to bring it in as often as you can. So you're building that familiarity with people. So every time people see that color combination, they think of you, even without meaning to, even without you really having to do much, just always having that consistency. And it works so well. Like I mean, I don't know many people on LinkedIn, and I don't say this to blow my own trumpet, but I don't know many people on LinkedIn with a stronger brand, a more trusted brand than I've built on LinkedIn over the past 2 years. The amount of trust that I have with my network is unbelievable. If I recommended a guy the other day for landing pages because he did an unbelievable job on my landing page. He had 20 calls booked in within about 24 hours. Like it can be a total game changer, just me recommending a service. And
you're the Oprah of LinkedIn.
It's you know, I had a weird dream about Oprah the other day because somebody said that, but it's truly humbling to have that amount of trust with people. It's come with a lot of work, but that's the power of a really, really strong personal brand. And when people don't get why it's so powerful, I just sort of, it's very hard to explain, but building that trust with a network of people on that, even if my business fails, I'll be able to find a job tomorrow. I could post and I'd get a marketing job like that. You know, it'd be simple. Or I could start a different business creating content because people trust that whatever I do, I'm going to be good at it. So, yeah.
No, thanks for that, Leah. Andy, John, any thoughts, comments, questions?
Yeah, it's all about occupying that small but very well-defined memory slot in people's heads. And it's a combination of the words and the visuals. You know, there's a reason why I turn up in a blue shirt on every Zoom call I'm on, because that's the thing that I want to reinforce. Someone the other day opened their freezer and they saw a blue, green and orange set of Tupperware and took a photo and said, look, I saw this and thought of you. That's like your rainbow, isn't it, Leah?
Yeah, exactly.
And, you know, people repeat my relentlessly helpful back to me without me prompting them. It's because it's something small and memorable and a little bit different. And if you can keep top of mind, then when the time comes to make a decision, you're just that much more likely to get a favorable decision because you're the memorable one. And you'll never get a chance to be the memorable one unless you turn up and be throw your name in the hat and be part of the conversation. So to go back to what was being said earlier, if you're scared about the table stakes of creating your own content because that feels big and scary, just get involved in other people's conversations first. Go and comment on other people, follow the relevant hashtags, follow the relevant people who are talking about your industry. Just get involved in their conversations, and you can then kind of scale that up into, okay, I've got something of my own to say now. But it's a great conversation builder. It's a great place to start. But yeah,
It's also like giving, I think, is a really strong part of branding as well. Because I did something the other day, I posted on Friday night. It was like, anybody want a Christmas hat on their profile photo? And I had a whole, like, hundreds of people commented. And then a few other people joined in to help do all the canvas. And we put Christmas hats on loads of people's profile photos and turn them all Christmassy. And of course, as a result, tons of people posted their Christmas picture and tagged me and said thank you. So my name got out there even more, and as doing something giving and helpful and fun for people. And it was a fantastic person. That wasn't my intention at first, but then the sort of byproduct was like, this is quite a good move, wasn't it? So doing things for people and giving things to people can be a fantastic way to get your brand out there more. Not saying give away all your services for free, but being somebody that is supportive and helpful, like you, John, with your Relentlessly Helpful, it stands out to people and gives them a reason to talk about you. So
yeah, it's one of the best ways of being memorable is being the hub of something collaborative. It's something I'm going to talk about in the next book. It's just really important because it's a relatively easy thing to do very often, but people will remember it, and you strengthen your relationships between all those people in your network who've got involved in something like a group post like that. It's really powerful stuff. It doesn't have to cost the earth either.
It didn't cost me anything.
Now, Andy, what about you? I mean, how did you develop your personal brand? Is this something that kind of evolved, or did you actually put some, work behind it too, or is it something that's evolved? How did you do that?
Yeah, it's definitely evolved, Bobby, over the years. You'd only have to look at my headline over the last decade to see how many times it's changed. And I think if you just look at that, you can see how I've become more and more comfortable, diluted the offering, and have now become the reassuringly expensive LinkedIn brand enhancer. It just encapsulates everything that I'm all about. And I think LinkedIn is amazing because it's a meritocracy. So if you're smart, if you are original, if you're clever, if you're humorous, and you are very comfortable in your own skin, you have something to offer, then it's all to play for and to win. And so I'm lucky because 100% of what I do should be relevant to anyone on LinkedIn. That's an incredible market if you think about it. So I get to choose who I work with. I can work in my PJs. But it started by writing about the summary as it was then. And screenshots are one of my favorite tools for simplifying stuff and making stuff relevant. Having 3 real life examples of what I call back then stunningly good summaries, and not just saying, hey, they're good and leaving it at that, but explaining why I felt they were stunningly good, and people thinking, oh yeah, I get it now. I get what he's saying, right? Not you've got to do it in your own voice. You've got to encapsulate what you do, and not just what you do, but how well you do it and why people should want to take the next step with you. And so, yeah, I wish I was better organized with screenshots, because I must have close to 20,000 screenshots, all LinkedIn related. And I've yet to come across a system where, and I go through them. And when I start going through them, immediately I get tons of ideas for pieces of content. So, yeah, it's been a fantastic journey. It's great to see people, like John and Leanne, yourself, Bobby, who use the platform in the way it should be used, right? To essentially showcase your skills and your talents. That's ultimately what we're doing. And Bobby, very remarkably, has pivoted from being, on stage and being shut down effectively by COVID, and has gone in a completely different direction, and made a success of it. So it's all there to play for. If you're versatile, you adapt, you can do it.
I like to brag that I tripled my business in 2021, but I lost 80% in 2020, so it's not really fair.
It's a wash.
Yeah, I know. But no, I appreciate that. Thanks. So, again, we'd like to keep this an hour. I really want to give all of you a chance to kind of promote your work. So again, I'd love to hear, what's something that you're working on that you want people to check out, or if you want to promote your newsletter or something else, like, this is your time. I really appreciate your time being here and being part of the Power Connection chat on LinkedIn. Leah, share with us something that you would like us to check out.
Well, I'm going to be launching in the new year a profile makeover service. So I have a profile DIY profile guide with literally templates for every single part of your profile. So you can have a professionally created profile without actually having to pay professionals. Because I've copywritten a whole template. Literally every single part of your profile was done. But what I've noticed is still people don't have time to do it and they don't want to do it themselves. So I'm also offering a bespoke service where fill in a questionnaire, send me your brand guidelines, and I am personally creating you a profile makeover. And the reason I'm doing it, people are like, why are you doing that? Aren't you hiring people? It's because I miss being creative. And actually, I don't want to just be creative for my own content. I like the challenge of working on other people's brands. So I'm doing it as almost a step back, but it will eventually scale. But I love doing it. And I've done a couple of them recently, and I'm like, they look amazing, and I'm really, really pleased with them, and they fill me with joy, and I'm very much driven by joy rather than money. So I'm going to be doing a couple of those a week for people. So I've been taking orders for those in the new year. And I'm reshuffling my coaching product, and it's going to be a much more premium product, and I'm going to be doing a lot less of them next year. So keep an eye out for what's changing with that, but it's going to be a drastic increase in price and a drastic reduction in clients. Andy, like, because I see people like Justin Welsh, and I'm like, I'm really undercharging. So I'm taking inspiration and
knowing. That's awesome, and I love how giddy you are about it too, which is kind of exciting. So that's awesome. How about you, John?
If it doesn't make me giddy, I don't want to do it.
Yeah. Exactly. John, how about you?
I'm working towards taking my LinkedIn group actually to the next level, so I'm going to be sharing news about that with my group pretty soon. Current experiment is finishing at the moment, so that's about tracking the number of link clicks I get in my short form posts. So I should have the results of that sometime next week. And then next experiment I'm going to be doing is comparing video views versus video impressions, which are not the same thing. And a lot of people get confused about the two. So I'm doing a test on that over the next month.
Awesome. And how about you, Andy? What would you like to share with us or promote?
Yeah, I've got at least 2 newsletters bubbling up in my head right now. It's just a decision of which one to publish next. And like John, I'm working on my group activities too. My group is called LinkedIn Action User Group Heroes, and I'm making the painful transition of making that a paid group, because people have enjoyed it for 3 years on Facebook, over 1,000 people, but now I want them to pay for it because clearly it's valuable. But beyond that, I'm just getting my suit for the metaverse ready.
You're not getting your sleigh ready for
working on
next
that
week.
Yeah, so I all of the presents have been bought, Leah, so I'm pretty happy. Thank you, Amazon.
Wow, that's amazing.
Thank you, Amazon Prime.
Yeah, I get all my presents when I get there, because so this Friday I'm flying out the West Coast, first time in 2 years, to spend time with my in-laws, going for 3 weeks. I'm excited about that. And the main thing I'm working on, honestly, is my newsletter strategy. Like, I've done 4 now, and I've been pushing them hard, and now I'm going to do 1 more before Christmas, and then I have my plan for the year, because I think it's been really great to do that. And I've also been investing. I'm a huge proponent of social audio, and I know it's coming to LinkedIn. And now I'm putting together a training series on how to use social audio. So whether it's Clubhouse or whether it's Twitter Spaces, which I've been doing a lot of work on the last 3-4 months, how to use those spaces and then integrate it into your brand, integrate in your business. Because there's some people who don't want to do them, but I'm like, whether you do a live stream or put time in a newsletter or put time in your video content or your storytelling content, or even host an audio room, those are all forms of content that we do to put our value out there and build relationships. And I find that videos, live streams, and audio spaces are the best way to build trust and build community. So I'm heavily invested in doing that. So I'll be doing more on that. And we have a live stream tomorrow night on the Thought Leadership Branding company page, Thought Leadership Branding Club on Clubhouse company page on LinkedIn. And you can take a look at that, and be a bunch of people sharing all the cool things we're doing. And I think with that, we'll probably end today, guys. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, Andy. Thank you, John. Thank you, Leah. You guys are awesome people. I feel like all 4 of us are Brits, so because in case you didn't know this, I was conceived in England. So just so you know.
Where?
In near Leeds. My family lived there for 3 years.
I thought you were going to go a bit biological there with the
No, No, my family lived in England for 4 years, and then my mom got pregnant, and then 6 months later, they moved to Canada. So, I'm part British too. So I've had a really good time hanging out with you guys and, complaining about faffy things. And is that right?
So glad he said British instead of English.
Oh, okay. There you go. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. Guys, follow these people, connect with them, DM them. They're lovely, amazing people. I appreciate you guys. Take care. Have a great holiday.
Bye, guys. Bye.
Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
Bye.